how easy we make it. We don't show up for the fight. We don't show up for the battle. Of course we're losing the war. There are strategies and tactics. I'm going to take a few moments to tell you about one of the most interesting experiences of my life. It was the 1960s. I was reading a textbook, a communist textbook, about something called the Squad Diamond tactic. Squad Diamond tactic was a tactic whereby, the comrades said, you can go into a meeting with 60 or 100 people, typical meeting, a small local group. And if you have 4 people, you can dominate that meeting using the Squad Diamond tactic. Oh, really? What is this all about? So here it is. The Squad Diamond is named after a military formation. Those of you who've been in the infantry, you know that when the platoon goes through hostile territory, they're carrying their weapons like this. You don't go in a straight line or a phalanx because it's so easy for snipers to know where the next person is. They get one, and then the other one is right in front of it or next to it. So you never use a straight line or a straight vertical or horizontal line. You form into a diamond. And the platoon leader says, "Squad diamond," and everybody gets in their position. So it's easy, it's not so easy to find the next guy. So the Squad Diamond tactic is when you go to a meeting that you want to dominate in some way, maybe you want to get somebody nominated to a position, or you want to heckle a speaker, or maybe you just want to break up the meeting, and they list all the things you can do with the Squad Diamond. I'm reading this thinking, wow, this thing really goes on. So what you do is you go in and you deploy your forces, one man or woman at the front, one at the back, and one at each side. And there's your 4. That's the diamond shape. And if you have more, then you complete the diamond with more people, but never put them in the center. The idea is that the people on the perimeter will start whatever action you decide, and it will force all the people in the middle to have to turn their heads and look around and say, oh, and they feel surrounded. It's a psychological thing. And that's the whole, this is the training that they do. Make the people feel that they are in the minority, even though they're in the majority, yes. I thought, well, this is interesting. Maybe we'll try this. So we tried it. I got to notice that there was a meeting to be held, I think it was a Thursday night, at the Young Democrats Club in a little, well, it was, yeah, Young Democrats Club. Well, but the meeting was to honor the speaker, the fellow by the name of, let's see, I wrote his, yeah. Frank Wilkinson, that was his name, yeah, Frank Wilkinson. Now that doesn't mean anything to you probably, but back in the days when the Communist Party USA was full bore trying to discredit the House Committee on Un-American Activities and the Senate Internal Security Subcommittee, the 2 committees that were investigating communist infiltration in the United States, the Communist Party naturally had to discredit them. And they were doing a good job by saying, well, they were un-American because they were, questioning people's political beliefs and ruining their reputation. And they were a bunch of McCarthyites. And that was the general line that they were using. And most Americans were buying into that. So that was Frank Wilkinson's mission. He was a very professorial type. You listened to him speak and watched him, and you would swear he was a professor at some local university. And he spoke very soft-spokenly, and he used sesquipedalian words, what does that mean, and so forth. Very intellectual type of guy. But we knew who Frank Wilkinson was. He was a known member of the Communist Party in Southern California. He was, in fact, on their leadership group. He was the man in charge of their security division, that was the division in charge of playing rough. That's where they intimidated people and would do physical things with people. That was the security division, they called it. And he was in charge of that. He was also in charge of, he was the man that went to all of the college universities and spoke against the House Committee on Un-American Activities and the the Senate Security Subcommittee. And he was very good at his job. I had heard him speak once before, and it almost made me want to jump up and say, yeah, down with the Un-American Activities Committee, because he was good. But I knew who he was and what his mission was, and so did everybody in my group. So we decided we would go to this meeting and see what fun we could have with Frank Wilkinson. Now, he was at the top of his class in what he did, so we knew we were up against professionals. So we went, and we thought we had 6 people. Turned out we had 4 that showed up, and I was there as one of the 4. But it said in the manual 4 was enough, so in we went. So I took my position on the side. I remember it well, it was the right side, and somebody on the left side, and we had our 4 positions. And so Frank Wilkinson gave his dissertation about how un-American it was to question communist activity in America. And so when he was all done, are there any questions? Well, that was our moment. I jumped up. So I have a question, Mr. Wilkinson. Oh, yes, what is it? According to this report I'm reading here, that there was a member of the Communist Party in Los Angeles that says that they attended Communist Party meetings with you. Is this true, sir? And he turned red. He said, "You're just exactly the kind of McCarthyite, the kind of person I'm talking about. You're bringing, questioning my loyalty, my Americanism, and it's over. You're the very kind of person I'm talking about." And everybody looked at me like I was a piece of dirt. I thought, well, this is not going well. But the show had just begun. Yeah, the next thing I said, yeah, but Mr. Wilkinson, so-and-so says that, didn't you, aren't you the head of the security division of the Communist Party in Southern California? Isn't that true? And he's tried the same thing on this guy. Well, by this time, look, the arrow was dented this time, And then number 3 and number 4 did their part and was reciting from investigative reports on this guy. And the group got a pretty good idea of who he really was. And at that point, there was, first of all, I have to tell you, most of these people were students. They were young Democrats. That was the name of the club, right? And most of them were students, but there were a couple of working guys in there, looked like they had just come from the assembly line, big bruisers, dirt under their fingernails, and blue shirts and so forth. They were real workers. The Democrat Party is supposed to be for workers, not college students. And this one guy stood up and he says, if this is the kind of speakers that this club brings in, he said, I just joined this blankety blank organization. And he tears up his membership card and strides out like that. And blow me down if 2 more people don't jump up and say, yeah, me too, And the meeting was over. Now, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought we were going to be assassinated. So when we got through, the 4 of us, oh, by the way, when you go in, part of the instruction manual says, don't let it be known that you're together. You don't come in together. It's, you're unknown to each other. It's deception. It's what they're teaching, And so we went out to the coffee shop, We're all shaking. We've just been in battle, And so we're sitting there drinking our coffee, and in walks Frank Wilkinson with 2 or 3 of his buddies. Now, had they used the same tactic on us, they would have completely neutralized us. But they didn't. They weren't expecting us to do that. So they walk in, and they walk by the booth where we were sitting. He's backed up. And he leaned over, I'll never forget this, practically in my face. He says, who are you people? He knew that we were united, that we were doing the same damn tactics that they were using. Now, there's just a little microcosmic glimpse of why we are losing this war is because we haven't been on the battlefield. They've had it so easy. They do that sort of thing all the time at meetings. And we sit around and say, oh, gosh, I guess everybody wants this, And it's not true. It's time for us to get organized and fight back. That's where the battleground is. It's not fortunately, it's not on a battlefield with guns. Yet. Not yet. The real battlefield is in the organizational meeting rooms of the power centers of society. That's where the battle will be won. That's where the battle was lost. And if we wish to retain and regain our liberties, that's where the battle will be won again.